will you please welcome in the interviewer's chair the truly wonderful Amanda Cook. And our special guest who has been here before. So will you please welcome Mr. David M. Allen.
Good evening, Ponte Carlo.
So thank you so much for coming a second time. I do feel like we're really, really lucky. We haven't done a Cure album before.
Not big enough.
And we've got a cracker, Head on the Door. I think it was your second album that you worked on with them, because you did the top before. You've been described as the George Martin or the Phil Spector of the Cure world. Have you heard that one before? Don't be inscrutable.
No. Well, try not to be. Yeah, I didn't know that's what it was.
Yeah.
But fifth member, people have said that, and I did believe it for quite a while. But obviously, for the last 30 years, I haven't.
But you were there for the golden period. You were there for the whole.
No, people say that, but I don't know, golden period. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it definitely is, and this album is a pivotal one because this is the one that takes.
Yeah, they go mainstream, or they become something in the mainstream.
Yeah, they make it big. They go stadium big, don't they? From this point onwards, so they've gone from. Yeah. So it's a real breakthrough for them.
Yeah. So I'd been working all the way up to Christmas, and then in the gap between Christmas and New Year, the office rang me up and said, "Oh, the Cure want to come in."
Were you a fan of the Cure? Were you aware of them that time?
Not really. I'd seen Primary on Top of the Pops.
Let's have a look at the early Cure lineup and see. Oh, there we go.
That's very early because is
this pre when they came into the studio? That's,
yeah, it all looks normal.
They've got Simon by then.
Yeah.
Is that Michael Dempsey at the back?
I don't know who that is.
I think it must be.
Could be Matthew Hartley or Michael Dempsey.
The thing of the lineup changes so much, doesn't it, over their
the lineup
career,
I worked with had Angry Anderson in. Andy Anderson, yeah.
Yeah, we're going to get a little bit of that.
I always called him Angry. Not for any real reason other than it was.
In fact, let's have a look at them, see what they're doing at that time. I think we've got a clip of a Forest live, haven't we? They were good, weren't they? They were good. So by the time they came to you, they'd already done, 4 albums. So that was 17 seconds.
Yeah. The thing is, for 3 years I'd been living in this kind of world where we had, like, Human League were number 1 in America, in most territories of the world at Christmas. And I'd also done Tour IA by Dexys, and plus a whole load of other stuff that were hits. And I was really kind of... That's a goldfish bowl all of its own when that happens, because you don't really kind of think about it because you're not on the outside of it, so you don't perceive it as an audience. You perceive it as sort of someone like if you're in a football team, you're out on the pitch, you're not in the stands, so you're aware of 25,000 people looking at you, but actually it's like quite a small family. Anyway, so I had been working flat out. I didn't really want to come in. So I told the girl in the office that I wasn't interested. And then she rang back about 10 minutes later and go, "Well, no, they really, really want you." I said, "Well, okay, I'll come in and do it for like 10 quid an hour."
And this was to mix a track?
No, this was to do the top, because I'd already done...
I was going to say, hang on, because you'd already mixed the single for them, hadn't you?
Yeah, I mixed Love Cats, yeah.
I mean, that's pretty major breakthrough single. That's pretty significant.
Yeah.
Let's have a listen to Love Cats. I
did the brass on it as well. Apparently I re-vocaled it, but I have no memory of doing the vocal whatsoever.
It come flooding back to you. Wow.
Thanks.
Quite a song.
Honestly, I didn't really do anything on that, to be honest.
Well, that's not what I've heard on good authority, that Phil Fornelli speaking about you, and he said that you were the one that brought that together. So, yeah.
Well, last time I was here, we were talking about Love Action, which has got this kind of funny milk bottle-y sound in the beginning.
Did you nick it? Is it the same thing?
Yeah. Well, I don't know. It's just funny, because that's... One precedes the other. You could have the sound of milk bottles early in the morning. I mean, what Phil's idea about somebody's love action, and milk bowls, I have no idea. I mean, it kind of makes sense with love cats, because obviously nowadays, obviously the vet will tell you that cats shouldn't drink milk. No, it's one of those things. I mean, who knew? You know, they didn't know for thousands of years. Anyway, basically.
So they'd come from a really dark place at this point, hadn't they? They'd done pornography.
Yeah. He's in the Banshees. He's doing loads of coke. Just really kind of. Chris Parry's really the head of fiction. He's trying to keep it all together and sort of kind of going. You know, do you really want to be working for Susie for the rest of your life, or whatever he pointed out to?
Do you remember him being a little bit afraid of Susie?
The witch.
This story is. The story goes that he was too afraid to quit, and that's why he was taxiing. He was sleeping in a taxi between the two studios because he was recording Hyena with the Banshees at the same time as he was doing the top with you.
Yeah. Well, I'm quite. I mean, obviously, I don't know about the Banshees thing. And
apparently, he was so afraid he got a doctor's sick note and gave that to her.
Well,
he couldn't tell her in person. He just sent the note.
I know. She's fucking scary.
Yeah.
She is.
And that's why she's called him Fat Boy Smith ever since.
Well, I don't know. Recently, the last year or something, when she's been touring, it's been really nice to see her because she's looked happy. She's smiling. She looks great. She just looks, she looks really great. And she looks like she's enjoying it. When you look at pictures of her from, like, back in the day, does she ever look like she's just... Oh, it's like fucking Sturm Führer.
Goes with the songs, isn't that, I guess? You've got to have...
Well, maybe. I don't know. I only met her
you got to have a stage presence when you...
I met her a couple of times, like, backstage, and she looked at me like a piece of shit on the bottom of her shoe. And then I met her a couple of times in the studio, and she was just, like, super confrontational. Like, they were trying to mix something in a studio, and I was working in one of the studios upstairs. Budgie is super friendly, and he said, come down and have a listen to what we're doing. And they'd been working on this mix for like 2 days. And you don't go into people's studios and start going, you should do this, you should do that, you should do the other. I mean, you just don't, because you don't know what they've been dealing with and what the problems are. And, so you just go, yeah, sounds cool. If you're hanging in a studio, which English people don't really do, but if you're in there, you go, it sounds good, If you're really desperate, you go, it sounds interesting. Mickey Most always used to say he was, like, owned Rack Studios and was super. He used to say, difficult mix. So it's great. It's going to be difficult to mix, though. And you'd go, and you, like, first few times, you'd be sort of like trying to make sort of silk purse out of a sow's ear.
So how was it producing the top? Was that a silk purse out of a sow's ear, or was it...
Well, I don't know. I was getting an extra 10 quid an hour, plus monthly, plus the company car. Yeah. Martin fucking absolutely freaked out. He just went, I'm paying you. I was going, they're paying me some more. It's like, it's going, but you can't do that, Dave. I was going, I'm only a librarian. What would I know, It's like... that was 3 months of memo. Anyway, I went freelance. So I was eternally grateful to them. Well, not eternally.
At that point, or after the top, you went freelance, or were you?
After the top. It was untenable after that.
Yeah.
And I will be lifelong grateful, because in that 2.5 weeks of coke-fueled madness, I kind of thought, oh my God, you can make a record like this. You can do an entire track in an evening. I mean, you've got the drums done, so Caterpillar is an evening.
We're going to have a look at that. I can't believe it, because it's a really complex track, isn't it, Caterpillar? And you say it was like a day's work.
An evening.
Oh my God!
Well, we didn't start very, very early in the morning, and finished usually at dawn.
Really interesting track with a lot of different sounds. Isn't one of the sounds the drummer rubbing his jeans or something? Tapping his jeans. Yeah. Right, let's see if we can spot that sound. How do you do that in a day? I can't believe it. That's so good. So many sounds going on.
Yeah, I don't know. It's when you've got loads of ideas, and not me, I haven't got loads of ideas, but somebody's got loads of ideas, and you just bashing it out quick.
So you had Andy Anderson
Yeah.
on drums.
Yeah.
He didn't last very long, did he? He didn't make it to the next album.
He had,
Hadn't he been
he
spot
had
for
an
Boris?
MBD, nervous breakdown, in America.
Is that when he had to be restrained? 'Cause
Yeah.
he turned a bit.
Yeah, Robert was the one who went into the room. He was so, and he was a lovely guy, but he was lovely. He was a really nice bloke. Tour madness, who knows? But he was wearing fatigues. He was a very well-built black guy. He was in LA. He went into the wrong room. The room was occupied by a woman. She just thought she was being. It's not funny, but she thought she was being attacked by a black guy wearing kind of like massive army fatigues and all the rest of it. She freaked out. The security people came in the hotel. It's America. He barricaded himself in, and Robert went in and talked him down, put him on a plane, and that's when they got Boris Williams in, because he had just finished a tour with Thompson Twins. I'll just finish the thing about being grateful to them, because I then went freelance from Genetic, and then did the Sisters of Mercy after doing a band called Positive Noise. And the knock-on effect of that was that through all of the rest of the 80s into the 90s, whenever a new album came up, like one of their new albums, and it really was like either Robert or the head of the record company, Chris Parry, ring me up and go, would you like to do work on the next album? We're doing an album in September or whatever. Would you like to do it? And I would go, yeah. And they go, how much do you want? And I go, whatever you think. No, whatever you think. So, in fact, my money stayed the same all the way through that period. So I didn't get more advance, but I got the same advance. And my points, my percentage share of the record for intellectual copyright went down by half a point with each album until it reached 1 point, which was the last album I did, Wish. But that's because the first album I did, this one, it was Lol, Tolhurst and Robert were the band. Then they added, like on Kiss Me, they added Paul, Boris and Simon. So there was 3 more people to add into the record royalty.
Well, the Head on the Door, weren't they a full 5-piece band for the Head on
Yeah,
the
they
Door?
were, but they weren't all on royalties.
Right, I see.
Or, as
Yeah.
far as I'm
Yeah,
aware,
yeah.
they're not, all right?
Okay.
And so by the time we got to Disintegration, we had an extra keyboard player. So, and I just didn't want to be a dick. And as far as I was thinking, I would could have been just working, back in the civil service or, in a lab somewhere. So I just never ever negotiated, which is probably why, so I remained cheap.
But
Cheap.
you've got an amazing back catalogue, and you're part of the
Yeah, no,
heritage
I'm
of
just explaining why kind of, loyalty is a virtue,
Yeah.
except when it's misplaced. And that's a Robert Smith version. I said, loyalty is a virtue, Robert. He said, yeah, except when it's misplaced. And, but that's why I never did, because I kind of thought, I would have left this business if it hadn't been for that kind of 2-3 week period of extreme hilarity, a lot of cocaine, a lot of drink. Not me. In fact, I also think the reason I survived such a long time is because I am as pure as the driven snow.
Is this the album? We're talking about the top, and is that
Yeah.
the one where they were staying in the John Barleycorn Inn, and they were given the key to the bar? Is that right?
Probably.
Yeah.
Or the Miller of Mansfield, I don't know.
Because it doesn't sound like a good idea, given Lol was a heavy drinker, wasn't he?
Well, he was, yeah. Yeah.
To the point where
They were
eventually,
all heavy drinkers.
but it,
Well, during Head on the Door, Simon's tipple was Pernod and cider.
oh god, wow.
Like Pernod and cider all day, like interspace with some lagers.
But Lol drank so much he couldn't play the drums. Is that right? They had to.
Well,
put
he wasn't the
sticks in his
drummer on
hand.
that.
So they'd moved him to keyboards. Is that right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
keyboards,
yeah.
Ish.
Ish.
Yeah, Robert played all the keyboards.
So he was more like a mascot almost by that point. Companion.
I don't know. That's like that's the common viewpoint. I had that viewpoint for about 10 years, and then another 10 years I thought, well, no, I would never have chucked him out because, bands are made of. There aren't really any bands nowadays. Fontaine's DC maybe, but bands are funny. Like for instance, only recently, like last year, I realised that Lol bought all the keyboards.
Wow.
So during Disintegration, he bought an Emulator 3. The whole of that album was driven using that as the sort of cornerstone. And on Head on the Door, he bought a DX7 and a JX3P, I think. So he bought the keyboards. I mean, I ran all the electronics, like all the kind of sync codes and all that kind of stuff, and made all that work. I'm not saying, but the point I'm trying to make is he had a role and he was pushing it, and they'd been at school together and they'd been mates since they were 15. So, it doesn't really matter kind of what happens to you. People who are at school, they kind of know what you're like. They're not like, the rest of the world might go, oh, wow, you're this and you're that. But, if you come...
They get each other on a different level, and they can talk to each other. So the creative process is a little bit more honest, I should think.
Well, also, Robert's talented enough to didn't really need Lol.
Yeah, that's
the truth of it. He had loads of songs. He came out with loads of stuff over a sort of 6 or 7 year period.
So did you find that when he came to record an album, he had so much material, it was like quite straightforward?
He just totally knew. He's like really super. He's really talented. It's a shit thing, isn't it? When you realise there are people who are more talented than you are. It's in certain...
So whilst they're with you, they develop what people call the special Cure sound, like their own aesthetic. Do you have much of an opinion on that, and could you define what you think actually is?
No real idea about it.
Is it his vocal? Is it his vocal? Because it is a really unique vocal.
Well, there's loads of stuff. He's got a funny little way of turning the chord around. He's got a great low voice. He's got an amazing low voice. Never uses it. When you look at that massive chest, he can do low, but he never ever sings like that.
But you've heard him. You've heard him sing baritone at some point.
Yeah. It's like, and I was going, you should say, no, that's not Cure. That isn't. He's got an idea about it all. He's got an aesthetic about it all.
His singing is like very emotional. People wouldn't
My
say he's the
stepdad
best
used
singer,
to always
but
say,
it's full of feeling.
"Oh,
isn't
someone's strutting on the cat's tail again." It's like it's a construct.
Yeah, people would say he's not a natural singer, but he didn't even want to be the singer, did he? In the beginning, I think, unless that's a myth. Do you think that's a myth? You do an inscrutable face.
I don't know. That's a recent interview, isn't it?
Okay.
Never heard that.
Okay.
Never heard that before. But like when you get to whatever age it is, like mid to late 60s, you start like thinking, oh God, well, how did I start? It's very difficult to remember back what you actually thought because,
they liked you though, didn't they? Cause
we had look, I'm funny, he's funny. I've got a real kind of bitter, twisted sense of humour. So is he. And
here we go. So that's the lineup for Head on the Door.
Yeah. In a bar.
Paul.
Oh, bless.
Is that brother-in-law?
Yeah.
Yeah, brother-in-law.
PRL, remember it.
And Lol. And that's Boris at the back, yeah? The drummer.
Yeah.
So that's the lineup that holds for quite
a lot of crimping
quite
going
a while.
on there.
Yeah. Well, we're going to see a clip later where he looks like he's had to cut all his hair off, so he must have gone too mad with the old back combing and crimping, I think. The Cure in Orange.
Cure in Orange. Yeah, that was all like kind of, I don't know. I was at that. I did the sound for that.
Yeah, we'll have a little look at that a bit later on.
Chuck the wig off.
Yeah, so he is a mega talent. We can't really define what the unique Cure sound is because it is strange because when we listen to the album, the tracks are all so different and yet they're all still so the Cure, aren't they?
Well, the thing is, so I'd worked on a lot of drum machine stuff. So I had I'd done like one, personally myself, actually handling the session, I'd done one live drum session, which was like a weekend that I had off and there was some dead time in the studio and I got a band in. Now I'd watched people do it and I'd assisted them and I'd helped them mic up the drum kit. So I'd done that with Alan Winstanley and I'd done that with Martin Rushton and a couple of other people. But I didn't know. So Head on the Door, this album, every drum kit is different. It's a different setup for every song. Because, well, this is what I've said for years. I just thought, well, if this one's shit, the next one might not be shit, right? And if it's a moving target, it's, we could get 3 songs in and all of a sudden they go, it's a bit of a shit drum sound, isn't it? But if it's different, they'd have to go, well, that was a shit drum sound. This is a different shit drum sound. And this is a different shit drum sound. And you sort of got enough forward momentum to keep the bollocks, to keep the bullshit going. So no one caught me out. And, but of course, like all these years later, it sounds like really interesting production. But it's ignorance. I had no real idea what the hell I was doing. I mean, that's the way I kind of saw it at the time. And yet some of the songs like Close to Me, I mean, the initial thing of that is, as I've said before, blah, 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 is Robert saying, oh, yeah, you're in a wardrobe and there's a band playing outside. So we did like very small drum kit in a very small room at the Angel with the doors shut. So it's a very small sound, huge studio, small sound. The vocals were done with the same claustrophobic kind of vibe where there's no room on the voice. And
because the album track is different, isn't it, to the single that came out? It's quite pared back and claustrophobic.
Well, I don't know. I streamed it because I haven't actually listened to it since I did it.
Wow.
And the streaming one's got the one with brass on.
Isn't that the single version? But
that's the single version,
yeah.
But that's now on the streaming version, remastered.
Oh.
So it might be the same on this one because this is a remastered.
Yeah, because I've got the old one and it suits the lyric a lot more, doesn't it?
There's no brass on it, is there?
Mm.
Oh my God, I wasn't imagining it.
No.
No, I did because I did that and that was mixed in an hour and a half.
What?
Yeah. There's no reverb on the album version. The single version had a bit of reverb. And Tim Pope, the video director, came down while we were mixing it and did his video pitch. And then we went to do Chris Parry, which was a little kind of, it's like having a safety net. All the way through there was this kind of safety net of someone with a kind of meta view. Head of the record company is like always a good person to listen to. But also Chris had really good ears and he had this idea for doing some brass and that's why we went to Trident.
Was Tim Pope, was he part of the gang as well? Was he part of the
Yeah,
whole?
yeah, I think so, yeah, totally, yeah. Video Cowboy. More in, Video Cowboy, yeah.
Do you think that's something that makes them special? Because the very best bands have that appeal of like being a cool gang, the kind of gang that you'd like to be part of. Everyone having a good time. Well,
I think it's good, and creatively it means you kind of don't do the same thing. Everybody's not doing the same thing that they did before. If, they're ongoing in their kind of creative mentality. Well, as far as you can. I mean, obviously that runs out.
We've actually got a clip of, I don't know if you've seen this one, it's Robert in this studio strumming on his guitar. I don't know if he's actually already completed the song or if this was just him preparing for the session.
They had a video camera during this.
Did they? Yeah. Let's have a look, see if this is the one. process when he was rehearsing, or was it? It's pretty much sorted by the time it got into the studio. Does that take you back watching that? Because
Yes,
you
it's
would
in
have
the
there.
Angel. That's definitely in the
Yeah.
Angel. They had a video camera, and that's probably from some of the extras of some video at some point. He's just, I don't know. Well, that's just doing all the shapes of the songs, doing all the transitions. He's not bothering to play the whole kind of thing out. He's just going, oh yeah, and it's that, and then it's that, oh, and then it's that, and to that. He's not bothering to do the whole strum, is he? He's just like practicing the
Does he come with the lyrics ready, or is he like disappearing off to write bits?
In this period, he had, I think he had pretty much everything sorted.
If you compare the process for Disintegration, which did you enjoy the most? Recording.
Oh, Disintegration.
It gives you the shivers in a bad way or a good way. I mean, because that is an amazing album, isn't it? They both are, but.
Do Inscrutable Face.
Yeah.
Well, it's just difficult to. It's not all the same thing. It's always quite. There's always amusing moments, but if you bet £1 on a race, it's one thing, isn't it? If you bet like 10 grand on a race, you probably would like it to come in. If you bet $1 million, you'd probably like that. If you bet your whole world, that's what it's like.
So it's getting more stressful.
Yeah, so the top was a laugh.
Yeah.
Pornography had done 30,000. So we're going to do more than 30,000 because they'd had a hit with Love Cats. And that did 60. Then Head on the Door did $1 million. All of a sudden... Oh, also, like, Head on the Door, Robert paid for that album.
Really?
Yeah. So, all of a sudden, he had some really serious vested interest in it being good. I mean, he was already writing pop songs. He already wasn't going down the pornography route of dark, super dark, anyway. I don't know, it's what I was saying before. By the time you got up and you got if you're only selling 30,000 records and you're part of a company like Polydor, well, you're interesting. But if you suddenly start having hits and you start selling kind of nearly 100,000, I mean, it's just like the difference between getting 10,000 streams and a billion. I mean, if you're getting 1 billion streams, everybody's interested. The streamers are interested, the advertisers are interested, your record company's interested, your manager is interested, Givenchy are interested, and so are Gucci.
And that's something we'll talk about later as well.
Well, in the modern era of like what we do now,
production has changed a lot, hasn't it? And I've heard you talk a lot about the happy accidents when you're recording and how that's disappearing because everything's corrected to the nth degree.
Oh yeah, you can.
Now.
You can't like kind of have a happy accident and then talk loudly every time it happens, and then the following day everyone goes, "Oh, that's good."
Were there any on this album? On the Head on the Door? I heard something about a rainstorm that was happening. Was that on a night like this?
Yeah, that's a night like this at Genetic. Yeah.
And you had the door open so you could get the.
Yeah, so
there you go. That was a happy accident then. Oh,
can you actually hear it? Open.
Can you actually hear it on the track? We'll have a listen.
Yeah. No, you can't hear it on the track. I mean, that track was remixed by Howard Gray, who had done the drums for the top.
Right.
So he did Kyoto's song, Night Like This, and he rang me up when he was remixing it. He said, is this song Dolby'd, or in Spinal Tap terms, Doblied? And I said, well, to be honest, I don't know. I don't think it was. He said, because I got this really weird sort of white noise going on in the vocal. I was going, oh, yeah. And he's going, well, it sounds like rain. I said, yeah, that's what it is. He's going, hey? was going, yeah, it's rain. And he was going, hey, it's rain? I was going, yeah, the door, there was a big storm and I thought it like fitted the song, so we had the doors open, there was all rain coming in and thunder and lightning outside. It was great. Did the vocal in an hour. It was like 2 takes. Bit of psyching up and a bit of drinking and a bit of listening to it, and then like 2 takes, that's it. And then he said, I've got this other track, and it just, as you go through, it's just got I said, oh yeah, the S track, I said. He said, yeah, what the fuck's that? I said, oh, well, that goes with the lead vocal, because he was really pissed and he didn't pronounce any S's. And I said, oh, like, I mean, nowadays when that happens, people just copy-paste one. And they just stick it on another track in the Pro Tools. But then he had to go through and go, sit there and go like...
Which track's that?
Not like this.
I'm going to listen to that.
Yeah. No, you won't hear it because the S has been blended in. So I was going, oh, Robert, there's no S's on the end of the words. Yeah. I was going, yeah. Let's do an S track. Because like Michael Jackson used to do separate tracks of oohs and ows and ow and yee. He used to do separate tracks and breathing tracks. So when you hear Michael Jackson go, and all that sort of stuff, that's on a separate track to the vocal. So you can mix the breath. So it's not just like, you can artistically create a breath that sets the... Anyway, that's just, so the idea of doing an S track isn't that... That's the only one we did it on. But it's kind of just sitting there thinking, well, Howard's sitting there going, what the fuck is this? There's nothing on this track. Hey? What the fuck's that? Because everybody listens to stuff in solo. So you have to go, oh yeah, oh my God, it fits that. Oh yeah, there's a little S at the end of...
The perils of drinking in the studio. So you didn't drink when you were on duty, did you?
I didn't, no.
But they did.
Yeah. Maybe I kept the gig a long time because probably, I don't know.
I didn't read that they had an allowance for drugs in the contract written in, like a 1,500 quid allowance for coke.
£3,000 a week in the top.
Okay, right.
And then head on the door was drink.
Right.
So I had an Austin Maxi, and me and Robert used to go to the offie every week, fill up the Austin, put the seats back and fill it up.
Was that the one where they built an empties mountain?
No, that's pornography.
Pornography, okay, yeah.
Yeah, no, they'd grown out of that childish phase.
Yeah. Right, I think we're ready for the interval. Yeah, and then we're going to listen to the whole thing, which you haven't listened to the whole thing for quite a while, so...
I've only listened to it once, which was 2 weeks ago, and I thought I was doing this. Honestly, it was a real surprise, especially as it was a streamed version, because I couldn't find the vinyl. I don't even think I've got a vinyl copy of it.
Well, let's hope you buy a raffle ticket.
That's the reissue.
Very good, Amanda, very good.
Well, thank you so much, and we'll
thank you.
Catch up again.
After listening to the record, we had a post-album discussion and a bit of a Q&A.
Hello, and welcome back. How was that experience for you?
Whoa, moving.
And you laughed at me when I said I cried at the Cure gig. Do you think that's the secret of the music? That's what makes them special, because it's so full of...
All the songs have that kind of... I think it's what his kind of talent is... The little moments in people's lives, that's what I kind of think it is. Like on Pornography, where he goes, a little piece of food falls out of your mouth and we laugh. Who hasn't had kind of a meal in a restaurant where, you got a bit of spinach in your tooth, or whatever. He's really good at these tiny, fulcrum moments.
And that's why we can relate to him so much, because it's taken the ordinary and bringing out the tragic. Yeah, totally.
Well, I don't know. Yeah, there's loads of them. There's loads. He's just got loads of really good lines, and I don't know. Sinking's that was really moving, and I mean the whole thing. Kind of listening to it through. I mean, I kind of I mean, after you've listened to something like a few million times, that's an exaggeration, but a few thousand, certainly thousands of times, all the way from sort of the drums up, you might go home, you might get the test pressing, you might check it all, but you're doing all of that professionally. But you don't listen to it. You're not a consumer of it. You're a maker of it. But obviously, after this interval of time, you're a consumer of it. I mean, I'm still not a consumer of it because, like, some bits just takes me completely back. On the kind of, I worked out like about 3 weeks ago. Close to Me was a massive hit in France. That's the first territory where they became really kind of big. It was number one for like 2 months or 2.5 months. They became absolutely huge over there, and I worked out the other day why it is. It's the heavy breathing. I know, it's kind of funny, but when you think about Je t'aime, it's the heavy breathing and the funny claps. What's the heavy breathing? I think all the French people went, close to me, you know.
And which did you prefer, with the pared back album version or the...
I don't know, I was surprised to hear it because I was kind of expecting the brass because I listened to it on streaming because I couldn't find my copy. And, you know, it's the thing I was just saying a minute ago, you've got to watch the streaming thing because you're not, you know, you watch a streaming video, film from, say, like 20th century, all the bits that aren't woke will get cut out. And if they decide to put the single version on the album, they stick the single version on the album. They call it the reissue album, you listen to it, and all of a sudden you've got the brass there.
I hope you haven't gone all Elon Musk there. We're not talking woke mind virus.
No, I'm just saying, anything that doesn't fit with the current kind of cultural climate can be edited out of streaming.
Yeah.
So, like, for instance, the first edition of Origin of the Species is completely different to the second edition, where Darwin was so freaked out by the church's reaction to something that he just thought, well, what's the problem? We all come from monkeys. It's just as much of a miracle as anything else. And he completely chopped out loads of bits in the second edition.
Speaking of religion, you know the Blood of Christ one?
Yeah.
I mean, it's not about religion at all, is it? It's about a Portuguese wine that he was drinking.
Lacrima Christa.
But it was...
Tears of Christ.
It caused a big uproar in America because the evangelicals got hold of it and they were holding it up on TV and saying, burn this, it's the devil's work. But it's Portuguese wine, so there we go.
Well, yeah.
I think that's the great thing about their lyrics. They're kind of open to interpretation a lot, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
you can read them in loads of different ways.
Well, yeah. That's the weird thing about words, isn't it?
Clever.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I thought for a long time the whole thing is about pregnancy, having children. I think that is kind of around the point where, I mean, I don't fucking know. It's just what I've thought. You know, push, screw, night like this, close to me.
So I think we've got. Do we have it, Dre? The interview, right? Let's watch the Cure. I think they're being interviewed. Might be for the release of Wish, which is your last.
Oh, yeah.
Here we go. But have you seen this one?
Yeah, I have. Yeah.
Oh, we're just having a little bit where they're actually talking about you.
Really?
Oh yes.
A special relationship with him, I think, because he's very much like us.
And by virtue of the fact that he's worked on the album.
He's just got the same sense of humour as us, and we get along with him really well.
I think he's there much in the same way as Tim Pope's stood around, that he deals with us on a kind of social level. I think we continue working with him. I mean, he's really good technically at what he does, but the most important thing for us when we're in a studio all together is that we're going to get on, and We have tried working with a couple of different people in the past couple of years just to see what it feels like, and there seems to be a lot more tension than is necessary. Whereas with Dave, he knows us so well, he can judge our moods almost as well as we can judge each other's moods. So he knows when to like push someone or when to leave someone alone. And generally, the atmosphere in the control room is like based on that kind of like social interaction, because musically and like song-wise and structure-wise, we know what we want. We don't really need a producer to say, why don't you try going to E instead of A, boys? You know, because if we can't think of that, I mean, that's why we're there. That's basically what we're doing. I think groups who need a producer to like put them on the right path are basically lacking something.
And he's much more than just a producer. You get the feeling
he's a Nintendo master.
Yeah. I don't think it'd be difficult to put these songs on the album into a live.
Oh, so how cool, Nintendo Master in our presence. We're honoured.
I don't know what he's going on about.
How do you know? But that's the impression I get, that you became part of that gang, and that's what made for the great success of the album.
Lady Gaga's new album she's inspired by Never Enough, which is a kind of single in between Disintegration and Wish, which was done by my friend Mark Saunders. But it was, because it was the early 90s, everything had kind of moved into sampling and looping, and basically the band didn't like that, because instead of them playing, they'd do a bit. This is my kind of understanding of it. They just sort of were hanging around loads while there was loads of programming, which is, of course, exactly how most records are made nowadays. And
so when The Cure were creating a record, was it mostly live performances that we were...
Yeah, totally, yeah. And I think, kind of in some ways, I don't know, I sort of often think... I did The Chameleons with Mark, and he did Bomb the Bass, and he did a few other kind of... He did Buffalo Stance, and he's really good, and maybe he would have been better to do that album, because some of the drum patterns are very complicated, possibly too complicated, but would have probably worked much better being looped and being more I don't know, that's just like you kind of look back on it. But I think everyone was kind of going, oh, look, you know, he did this and he did that, and we always get on, and it's good laugh and all the rest, blah, 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 you know.
Didn't you also work on The Cure in Orange? Was that...
Yeah, I did that. I did Concert as well. I mean...
that is an amazing film for anyone who's not seen it. Should we watch a little bit? Should we have a little bit? Cure in Orange. And that was that the opening track on the top?
Yeah.
The range is incredible, isn't it? Because you then have...
It is like the top, apparently, or allegedly, or one of Robert's lies, is every song has a line or a little clip from Dylan Thomas. Stale and selfish as a sick dog. Oh. Something like that.
Oh, I'm going to go back and troll through them.
Yeah, that was a nightmare,
Recording that was a nightmare?
Well, basically, film is 24 frames and video is 25 frames. And they filmed it all at 25 frame, because everybody on the kind of directorial front was video directors. So whenever it was shown in the theatre, because it was designed to be like a film to go in the theatres, it ran slow, like by 1 frame a second. And in those days, you couldn't pitch transfer anything.
So it was a huge job.
You couldn't run it slow and you couldn't run it at the right. So
were you there? Doing the sound?
Well, I was doing the sound in the back,
yeah.
And it's 2 days.
Yeah.
So the first day was the concert, and the second day we started exactly the same time. We started in the afternoon and did all the repairs, and then they did a kind of mime of the concert to all the repairs we'd done in the afternoon. Anything where there was a mistake was dubbed from the stage to the truck, which was like a 100-yard walk, or we were in France, it was 100 metres. And Christ, it was exhausting because there was no talk back. So I was having to go, there's a mistake. We'd sort of play the song, and then I'd go, well, I think there's a mistake on the bass. Can we drop you in, Simon? Just
It's
at
incredible.
this
You
point.
forget how much technology's moved
And
on.
then I'd
don't
go
you?
I'd go, well, give me a minute to get back to the truck. I'll play it from 10 seconds before. And then you drop in is the technical term, which means you go into record and then you go out of record. So I would go like, Simon, play along. It's just that little bit that goes there. I mean, it's crazy. So the largest studio I've ever worked in, and we worked through the whole set, repairing whatever keyboards were wrong.
Was it actually released? It was released to cinemas, was it?
Yeah,
Oh,
initially it
wow.
was. Yeah, it was a nightmare because let's go to Marble Arch. I had an argument with Chris Parry outside until my that partner dragged me away, put me in a cab. I was going, Kubrick goes and measures the light fucking in every cinema. Oh no, this is just a nightmare. Because something like that, it's just, if you go like a few BPM slower, it doesn't really work.
Superb live band, but also the videos were really critical, weren't they, to the whole launch of their success.
Yeah, the video cowboy.
MTV.
I'm in Friday, I'm in Love.
We've got it.
We're
going to look at you right now.
Yeah.
See if you can spot everyone.
Yeah, if you still frame it,
Here we go.
when everybody's running around.
We've got an actual bona fide legend in here.
Legend.
Yeah.
Questions? Jason?
Did you get an idea of how Robert curated the albums, whether it was sequencing or kind of the vision for each album, or was it just seen as a collection of songs that he was working on at the time?
Vision's a difficult word, I think. I think people have ideas, they have concepts, they have a general idea, but I don't see how you fit the happy accident into vision. And I could completely have a collection of songs and kind of know where it's going and know what the kind of core is. I can't say I know what that is, but I think I've done a bit of extra work. And when you're an extra, you have no idea what the script is, really, where it's going, what the movie is doing. So what happens is, in the scenarios, you make something up. All extras do it. If they're in a crowd and they're all supposed to go, yeah, they don't know why they're going, yeah, because they don't know what's come before. They only know the scene they're in. And it's a bit like that. You have to latch on to something in it that resonates in yourself to find what you think is the emotional vibe of something. If that is even something... I mean, I often think that, like, probably anyone could have done those albums and they would have been just as good. Would have been different, but they would have been just as good. There was a whole bunch of people who were equally competent at making sounds, constructing it all.
Yeah, but don't forget they did say that you brought the vibe to the studio, so I think that's a pretty significant factor. They couldn't get along with just anyone.
No, that's probably true. That is probably true. Well, I don't know. Well, the Bob Clearmountain story is the one where basically after Kiss Me, Kiss Me, Kiss Me, and they'd had some success in America with Just Like Heaven, which is pretty much the same structure as In Between Days, Bob Clearmountain was a really famous remixer and mixer and producer, American. So obviously they kind of wanted to then sort of move. What record companies want to do is once somebody's broken a band with success, they try to get someone bigger to do it, to make it more successful. And Robert and Bob had a transatlantic telephone conversation. Sounds funny nowadays, doesn't it? Transatlantic telephone, yeah. And Bob Clearmountain said, well, I like to work from 10 in the morning till 6, and then I like to go and, have an evening. I'd like to go and eat and then go home and then come back at 10 o'clock in the morning. And Robert said, well, when will we meet? And so, it's like, I don't know, but some somebody would go, well, yeah, you know, what hours do you work? And he'd go, well, kind of like, you know, late afternoon till 3 or 4 in the morning. Quite like working all night. Oh man, I can't do that, you know.
Game over.
I quite liked it. You saw the sun, you know, you saw the sunrise every day. I mean, I did live that lifestyle for a long time. I obviously can't do that now. He's still doing it, but I've had kids, so that tends to put the kibosh on all of that sort of stuff. Yeah, I don't know.
Richard, you've got a question?
Hey Dave.
Hiya.
I just wanted to mention, like, every song on the album is just, it's like a different genre. When I listened to it then, it was like a different, it's like a compilation album almost, because there's no sort of...
Yeah, like a greatest hits
Yeah,
album,
kind of, yeah.
something like that, yeah.
There's no sort of theme to album, that's what amazed me. And it's such a unique album. I've never heard anything like it before, if that makes sense. I just wanted to...
Yeah, but this is the thing. When you're young, you don't know anything really, so you don't know what you're doing. Well, this is my case. I really, like I said with the drums, just do it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we've done that drum sound. Let's do this one, and now it sort of seems like great production or interesting production or something like that.
I listened to drums, especially after you said that, and it stuck out like a sore thumb, but amazingly, if you know what I mean. I'm really impressed with it. Really good, yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
The thing is, for a long time, I kind of thought that was. I sort of thought I was just really bluffing it and bullshitting my way through and getting away with it, and the fact that I didn't really kind of know what I was doing, it wasn't like I was kind of like super, like Glyn Johns or someone who did Zeppelin and stuff like that. Just not like that. I'm not a kind of came from a band, so I didn't like, say, someone like Phil Thornalley went to a studio when he was 18, or John Leckie, who did Radiohead. They all went there and they did that as Martin Russian. They did it as a job. I was in a band. I was Ancient when I became a tape-op. So, but you know what it is? It's like, even though I didn't know, I had talent.
Yeah.
And like, the more you know, kind of, this is my kind of thing about it, is when you have no knowledge, your talent has to get out of bed and has to work its ass off. When you've got knowledge, your talent can go to sleep, because you know what fucking mic to put on everything. You know exactly.
Yeah.
You've done it like thousands of times. You know this worked.
Yeah.
It worked with this record, with this record, with this record, and you know you're going to get a good bass sound. So you don't need any talent to do that. Because
you played in a band, your experience, basically. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I played in a band. I mean, in fact, like, basically, there's a thing there's a gig list at the Hope and Anchor, and the band I was in is on Tuesday, and the Cure are there on Friday at the same time. So they were already doing Fridays, and we were still stuck on Tuesdays.
Brilliant.
You know.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.